What is up, all my hope healers and hope dealers? My name is Kim, and this is my YouTube channel, my PhD, my prison history diploma. I did 10 years and 8 months in Florida Department of Corrections, and I've been out for over 15 years now. So I just got done rollerblading, hence why my face is red, and I was thinking about what I wanted to bring to the table today. And it came to me, I thought about when a double homicide murderer actually literally saved my life during my incarceration. And I wanted to tell this story because you never know where angels lie, okay? I'm going to tell you this story, and it was a day. And it's so funny, my reaction, but so I'm going to paint the picture of my day. So I knew I was going to visitation that day, and I was visiting somebody that I knew was bringing me some green. And I had a few people that knew, and this one person that had 2 life sentences for 2 murders, they knew as well that I was going to visitation to grab some green. And so I had about, I would say, like, besides Lori, about 5 other people waiting on me while I was in visitation. Now, just to paint a little picture of what visitation was like at this particular facility, it was a little tough to get contraband in. So it was visitation. It was kind of in a small room, and there were guards strategically placed throughout the visitation room. And also, when you went to the restroom, a CO would go with you. So you'd have to raise your hand and let them know, hey, I've got to use the restroom. And then the CO would actually go in the restroom with you. So it was a very challenging visitation to get things in. But, determination takes you a long way. So while in visitation, I will tell you, and formerly incarcerated people can relate to this. When I'm in visitation, I'm going to eat as much food as my visitor can buy me. And I'm just going to be almost gluttonous. It's embarrassing to say, but I ate a lot of food when I went into visitation. It didn't come out of my commissary account. I could get full and be full for like 3 days. And, the food was a little bit different, the selections and visitation. So I ate a lot that day. And I get out of visitation. And of course, everybody's waiting on me. And I give them the nod like, yep. And immediately they call count time. And so Lori and I happen to be in the same dorm together. And we go to the dorm, and it's count time. And you've got a good hour, sometimes after visitation, an hour and a half. It just depends on how good they can count that day. And so in the meantime, while we're doing count time, Lori and I are rolling them up. And I remember us telling each other, we're going to roll the big guns today because we have a lot of people waiting on us. And we were like excited to bring in, a few, I think 2 more people that we really didn't hang out with. We wanted to bring them in and smoke them out. So we used, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this, but we used, in female women's prison, you can have tampons there, and it's the cardboard tampons with the paper. You open up the paper, boom. So the tampon paper that holds the tampon before you use it is great long rolling paper. And then you use an envelope and lick the envelope, and that's what you use to do the sticky. And we just had it down to a science. So we rolled 2 big guns that day, very long. And count time's over. Lori and I run to the field, and we're so excited. And we sit down, and we smoke the first one. We pass it around, and then we get to smoke the second one. And, we were just like, we're going to get super blowed, celebrate life, like super exciting that we've got this green in here. And we're smoking the second one. And I remember, there was one particular person that I wasn't super excited about. And I'll be honest with you, it was the chick that had the 2 life sentences. And the reason why I wasn't really excited about hanging out with her is because we knew that she snitched sometimes to get herself out of stuff. We knew that she wasn't the most loyal person as far as like gossip. The person liked to big dog it in there, so to speak. So, she was a little bit of a concern, a little bit of a loose lip type of person. So I remember me and Lori were sitting next to each other, and I looked at her, and I was taking a sip of my water, and I didn't want anybody to see. And it was a circle of about 8 of us. And I looked at Lori, and we were on the rec field, and I'm like, Lori, let's go, as I'm taking a sip of water. And she laughed so hard. And me and Lori, we were like connected, dude. And she laughed, and because I was taking a drink of water, I laughed too as I was drinking the water, and the water got lodged down the wrong pipe. And then what happened is, because I ate so much food in visitation, something came up and got lodged in my throat. I kid you not. And when they say when you're choking for real choking and you can't make any noise, that is a true story. I could not make any noise. I could not get anything to come through my lungs at all. I couldn't tell anybody in the circle that I am about to die. Like, I was choking. I was like, it was scary. It was so scary. And the chick that was in there for the double homicide, the 2 murders, with the 2 life sentences, she'll never get out. And she's not a bad person, but she said out loud, and I'm telling you, it was about a good 40 seconds. I was about to pass out. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die. And she looked over at everybody and she goes, oh my God, Kim's choking. And she just runned real fast behind, picked me up underneath my arms, and started giving me the Heimlich maneuver. And that piece of food that was lodged in my throat came out, and I threw up like 10 times, and I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. But that double lifer, double homicide person saved my life. What a catch, like 22 or whatever you want to call it. It was just, something that people don't think about. At the end of the day, the people that I was incarcerated with, they're human beings. And that girl that's in there for, 2 life sentences, she's a human being, and she absolutely saved my life. And if she ever gets to watch this, she knows who I'm talking about. She knows it's her. And those that were sitting in that circle know who I'm talking about. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, she was positioned in my life at the exact right time. And it might have been her way of reconciling, through energy, universe, God, whatever you want to call it. Her way to reconcile maybe with her past is saving my life. I don't know, But all I can say is she was strategically placed in that place, in that time, in my life, at that very moment, to save me. A double homicide, 2 life sentence person. Thank you so much for doing that, by the way. So I was thinking about, let's fast forward to my life, right? I tell people things don't happen by mistake. And, I've come in contact since I've been free with people that aren't, the nicest, greatest people, and that's where I believe, like, sometimes my free will, like, I know what the right way to do things is, but sometimes I act out on my own free will, right? Even when I get a gut feeling about, like, not to hang out with somebody or not to do something, I'm going to ignore that gut feeling, inner spirit, God, higher power, universe, whatever you choose to call it. I ignore it, and then it just turns out to be a big explosive situation that's not healthy for my life. So with that being said, I'm going to fast forward, right? So I'm out of my incarceration for like over 8 years, and I didn't know anything about like addiction, disease. I didn't know there was such a thing, a medical terminology for it. I just knew, for me personally, like, drinking and using drugs was not good for me. And I just managed to stay away from it for a really long time. And then somehow, some way, it slid back into my life. And of course, my life got to be quite chaotic during that time. And I had to live through that to learn how to walk into a recovery lifestyle. So with that being said, so I'm in the throes of addiction. I've been out for, well over 8 years, and I meet this person, and they were actually renting a room for me at my house. And, for the first time, like I've always had tenants renting rooms in my house, and I never ever combined business with romance. But this particular person, I was in a very, not a great place in my life, not making great decisions. And this person, showed me like, oh, I love you. And, my standards weren't high. Let me just put it like that. My standards weren't high. And we engaged in a romantic situation. And like a couple months later down the road, I was on my way home from work, and I called the person. I said, listen, you can live at my house still. You can pay rent still at my house, but the romance is off the table. Like, we're no longer going to be, seeing each other. And the person said, if I can't have you, nobody can. And I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know if they were going to like harm me, but at that point in my life, I just like, whatever, I wasn't happy with myself anyway, and I didn't know what it meant. And to me, it just sounded like a threat. And so I pull up to my house, and there are police officers at my house. And, this person, it was on substances as well. They didn't go to work that day, and they're just like telling the police that I owe this person, $800. And it was just crazy because I didn't owe the person any money, and I didn't even know what to say. It was just the craziest thing ever. And it was like, what is going on here? And the person knew that I value my freedom. And, to be honest with you, because I was living a life of like, it wasn't good. It was not a good life. I did have a very big fear of going back into incarceration, as I should have, right? Because I wasn't living a good life. I took risks, and but I knew that I didn't have anything on me at that time, nor in my home. So the person was just like horrendous. And then they told the police, the police wouldn't arrest me. They're like, this is a civil problem. You need to take her to court, and we don't want anything to do with it. And, they were about to walk away. And the person said, she has drugs in here. And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? And there were, substances in the home. They were not mine, but nonetheless, they were there. And I'm sorry that I'm tearing up, but it was so scary. And, they didn't arrest me that day. And I remember the officer saying, I'm not going to arrest you today, but, just be aware. And a couple days later, I had a warrant for my arrest, and I had a 3rd-degree felony. And I was like, so scared, and I was still using substances, and it wasn't a good time in my life. It wasn't fun. I was a slave to alcohol and substances, and it was just not a good time in my life. And now here I am, and so they put out a warrant for my arrest, and it was a 3rd-degree felony. It was a 3rd-degree felony. And I just didn't know what to do. And I hired an attorney, and for a minute there, I just got the F-its, and I was like, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. And then one day, for some reason, I woke up with a little bit of care. And I remember crying on my couch, and somebody knocked on my door because I didn't go to work. And they said, baby girl, I'm about to save your life. You need to go to rehab. And I didn't even think about like there was such a thing as rehab. Like I really didn't, and I didn't even know I had a disease. And I went to rehab. The person squatted in my house, by the way, for a couple months, but that took care of itself. And I went to rehab, and I remember when I got out of rehab and I went to a recovery room, and I told a little bit about my story, and I was crying, and I was like, I just got out of rehab, and I did all the things necessary to do to go from a sick person to well. And I did it with all the pure intentions in my spirit. And I always call this story, what happened to me, the Judas kiss. The person that did that situation had the most evil intentions. They were going to hurt me. They wanted to harm me. They wanted to see me gone for a long time. And I will tell you that I was told, like, you know, if this goes through, like, I can't do my attorney said, I can't do anything for you if this goes through. And I was so scared. And then I thought, you know what? I mean, like, I might as well get sober, stay sober, stay clean, and just bring the message no matter where I go. You know, because I knew and I felt this purpose inside my spirit that one day I was going to be able to carry a very, very beautiful message. And so with that being said, I ended up going to the rehab, going to a recovery room, and just doing this for me. And I'm going to tell you about the miracle. The miracle is that I got clean and sober. The miracle is that I live a life today that is so free from that. But also the miracle is that situation got dropped. I got an email and that situation got dropped. And I remember I called my attorney and I was like, you know, thank you. And he's like, no, thank God. Thank God that you had a miracle. And I still to this day, thank God. So fast forward, I go back into the system with a ministry sometimes. And I remember one time I went back in and I met girls that had, you know, A, B's, and C's. So when you go back to prison, you get the same DC number, which is your inmate number, offender number, whatever you want to call it. And if you keep going back, it goes with an A, a B, a C, da, da, da. And so when I went in there with the ministries, just to give those girls love and tell them, you know, a little bit about my story and how I found, like, recovery and, you know, I mean, like a power of your own understanding, God, higher power, whatever you want, this personal relationship with this beautiful, loving being. I almost had like a survivor's guilt. And I went to somebody, a spiritual person, and I pulled him to the side, and this person is very beautiful spiritually. And I told him the truth. I told him that I felt guilty that I didn't go back to incarceration. And that person looked at me and they said, Kim, God knew what you were going to do with the miracle. So the reason I want to tell you this story is because I know some people out there right now watching this right now is going through something so tough. And it might be something that you invited into your life, and because we do have free will. And I can tell you right now with all sincerity, you can turn it around. You can turn it around and you can change your life. And I can tell you right now that that was my Judas kiss. I did not have evil intentions. This person didn't have kind intentions. Their intentions were so selfish. But what it turned out to be was something that actually saved my life. I got my life saved twice. One by the double lifer and one by this person. And that's what I mean. You never know who's placed in your life strategically to save you from something. Now, here's the thing. I couldn't change that person. I couldn't change the situation that occurred, but what I could do was change me on my inside. And that's what I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you that if your circumstances, if they look bleak and there's something going on that you don't have control over the outside appearances, what you do have control over is you. And I don't know what it looks like for you, what your higher power looks like, but I can tell you right now that there is nothing wrong with having a personal relationship with a power greater than you. Plug in. Plug in and see your life as valuable. That's what I had to do. And I believe in you. And I believe you can change. And I believe if you're watching this video right now, you want change in your life. And it all starts baby steps. What I do is I look at life. When that situation happened, I took that time out to put myself in a position to learn about a disease that I didn't even know I had. And now I get to experience life on such a better level. And that person indirectly saved my life. And I saw that person. So one day I was at home, and it was the evening time, and something inside me said, go to church. And it was in the evening. And I've never gone to church in the evening, and it's a non-denominational church, and I just love the vibes there. And I went to church, and I mean, I fought it at first because I didn't want to go in the evening, but I ended up going because it was just like something was pulling me to do it. So I go, and I walk into the church I typically go to, and I was like, hey, where's everybody at? And they're like, oh, it's a video today. And I was like, not sticking around. So I left. And when I was driving from church, and I had not seen this person since this incident, and we're talking like maybe a year later, and I'm driving back from church, and the person that actually caused all this was walking down the street, and I pulled my car over, and my first instinct, of course, was to be angry. But something beautiful took over me. And I went up to that person and I said, I forgive you and I love you, and I want you to know that that moment saved my life. So no matter what you're going through, you can change you, and you can plug into this higher power that's got your back. And something that might be deemed negative, and listen, we all walk through things that are tough in life. It happens. Life happens. But the only thing we can change is how we feel about ourselves and how we perceive what's going on. It's a blessing or a lesson. The choice is yours. So what I'm telling you, hope dealers and hope healers, as we rise up, we combine our lights, and we are a beacon for the next person. Thank you so much for being here. And if you've had a Judas kiss, drop a comment below. I want to hear about it. Have a great day, everybody. Hope dealers and hope healers, I love you all. Thank you so much.